Craig Stobo joining us now. Craig, welcome to the show. Good to have you on, mate. Those GDP
Thank you.
figures this morning are pretty shocking, aren't they?
Yeah, they're out of the ballpark. Market was looking between 0 and zero point 0.5. RBNZ was somewhere in between, and we've got minus zero point 0.9, which at face value, yes, is a shocker. But you've got to also look at the updated number for the March quarter, which was equally opposite as plus zero point 0.9. So we don't have a technical recession, which is cold comfort for people that had a tough time in the Q2, the June quarter. It's not a technical recession, but it's still a pretty lousy number for June quarter. And so for the year, it's minus 1.1, which just tells you, as we were speaking about this late last year, we're bumping along the bottom, looking for those green shoots. Remember that terrible phrase last year, survive till 25?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
gonna yeah, it's
yeah.
gonna be a bit longer than that, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
you
so you
said
look at
last
the
year repeatedly, you said if you're thinking like that, think again. And you warned us
yeah,
all last year
yeah,
about that,
yeah,
and you're
yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. So she's pretty volatile. So I think the takeouts for me is the numbers are pretty volatile. It's not a recession technically, so I have to wait for the next quarter to come through. But definitely worse than expectations. And the surprising piece in there for me was the downturn in manufacturing, down 3.5%. We spoke a little bit about construction in the last few calls. Auckland's affected by the cyclical nature of construction. We know construction's down, and it was down 1.8%, and manufacturing was down, which affects the manufacturing centres of New Zealand. So that doesn't tend to be, the agricultural provinces in aggregate. It certainly affects towns like Hamilton and parts of Lower Hutt, and obviously Auckland, and some parts of Christchurch, and some small provincial towns. But it's a meaningful fall, and it's more than offset a rise of 2.5% or so in the March quarter. So you need to understand why manufacturing is off. Is it affected by shutdowns at TY or in Methanex when we did that deal to try and improve our access to power? I don't know the reasons behind those numbers. But yeah, it'll give the Reserve Bank some cause for concern. It's much more than they were expecting, which clearly means the OCR track that they had into their forecasts is going to happen. So no particular surprises about what that means for the OCR. There's been some positive sectors though. Real estate services are up, telecoms are up, and wholesale trade is up, which for a kind of logistics centre that is like Cromwell, the wholesale trade area is still doing pretty well. So they're all services though, aren't they? They're not primary
Yeah, that's
production.
right.
They're not
Yeah.
manufacturing. So
Mm.
I think the other bit of news this last week was our really strong terms of trade. So what does that actually mean? It's like the price of butter over the price of an imported Chinese car, for example. So our butter prices are rising such that we can afford to buy more Chinese cars. I can just put it in very simple terms. So our terms of trade are really at record levels, and our current account deficit, which is our account with the rest of the world in trade terms, is also improving from very poor deficits of 5 to 10 years ago to a number that's less than 4% now. So that's a really positive thing to think about. But it's going to be cold comfort for people, particularly in urban New Zealand, who are affected by cost of living issues, potentially unemployment in the manufacturing area, for example, if those production numbers keep going south. Have got to find ways of reinventing themselves and reducing costs, all those things that we need to do. So the
This
surprising
is a
thing, I
weird,
suppose, is just how
but the
bad the number
economy's
was.
weird at the moment, Craig. I mean, when you think
Yeah, it
about it,
is.
you've just all the things you've just said. Then they're contradictory almost of each other, aren't they? Here's export volumes and prices at almost record levels, as you say. But here on the other, so we're doing really well in the export area, particularly our agricultural produce. Tourism numbers are really good in the South Island at the moment, and yet, whoa, look at this.
Yeah,
In terms
yeah,
of,
yeah.
it's just
You're
weird.
absolutely right. So the way that I think about this is, does this translate into growth? which we're looking for because of that strong terms of trade and the volume response that we expect to come through in spring, for example. Is it going to translate into increased tax receipts for the Crown and improve our domestic deficit? It's clearly helping our current account deficit, which is the ledger with the rest of the world. But are we collecting GST? Are we collecting more income tax? Are we collecting more personal, private, tax from households? And you wonder, at our peak, like this is one of the best terms of trade numbers we've had for a very long time, and it's not translating through into growth, and it's not translating through in improved receipts for the Crown. We've got a structural problem here we need to still talk about. How do we improve our productivity? Because it's not going through into the numbers that matter, which are people's back pockets and the government's tax coffers. So I am concerned about it. If those terms of trade reverse, we've got a real issue on our hands.
Yeah. And boy, oh boy, at a time, I don't think we've ever been, well, go back to the 1960s and 70s, the reliance upon the agricultural sector to pull us out of the mire. We've just been talking to Infrastructure Minister Chris Bishop about really infrastructure projects that are designed to speed things up. Will that boost productivity, Craig?
Well, it'll absolutely, because part of productivity is that effort required to generate certain outputs of it. You take longer and more costly to get the same output, then yes, it is a problem. If you can reduce those times and get to the outcome we're looking for, then absolutely will improve productivity.
All right. There'll be a lot of comment on this over the next 24 hours to do with these figures. Can I ask what I've just gone to the stats department to read, try and get some breakdown on them, and they particularly relate to I guess what I'm trying to ask is this going to mightily affect Auckland most? Is it? We're talking about manufacturing rather than other parts of regional New Zealand would seem to be holding up fairly easily on these ones, particularly if they've got a strong agricultural base, wouldn't they?
Yes, so the manufacturing and construction are two important components of growth in Auckland. We spoke about construction over the last few calls. Construction's cyclical, right? So you need to reset asset prices, so house prices or land prices, and you need lower interest rates to make the projects economic. And Auckland is a large housing market. It's a large manufacturing centre. So both those numbers indicate that Auckland's toughing it now as well, which is not surprising when you hear people talking to the mayor or to the politicians around how hard it is in Auckland. At the same time, though, rents, I don't have numbers on this, so this is anecdotes, but rents, household or investment, residential investment rents are falling as well. So for those who are looking to take advantage of investment in residential real estate, falling rents is not what you want to hear. So there's a strong adjustment going through here. I think about the lags here quite a lot, and you may not recall, but after the stock market crash in 87, it took 5 years before the Auckland residential commercial market bottomed in 1992. That's how long it takes for some of these lags to come through. So I do expect falling interest rates, which I think we can assume the track the Reserve Bank's published already will now happen because of the confirmation of the number today. So those tailwinds will help. But if you've got uncertainty over incomes, you're not certain about your future income because of the job market, and you still believe that house prices are still well above where they need to be to justify investing in them when rents are falling, it just means things may take a little bit longer before this period of uncertainty for Auckland finishes.
I'm looking at a moment at a graph that's been published by the Department of Statistics this morning relating to gross domestic product, and it shows a sort of progressive, almost linear decline in terms of GDP quarters from the high mark of June 2023. And ever since then, It's been a gradual decline, Craig, just like that. But it's been published this morning by. I guess I'm asking the obvious question. It's not working, is it? Whatever the government's fiscal or economic strategy is, and I know they've only had 2 years in the job, but whatever that is, it ain't working. And is this also a commentary upon the Reserve Bank's setting of monetary policy and the effects we're still seeing from what was a fairly restrictive regime of Adrian Orr and his mob? Could you answer those two questions?
So